Okay, so if you just chat about the kind of things you did with the devices whilst you were on the trip.
Okay. Well, the obvious one is taking photos. For example, looking at different types of graves, things like that, and like the regimental seals on the graves.
Yeah, I mean, for me, most of the stuff that I did was taking the pictures. But when we went to our individual graves or memorials, what Stuart was talking about before, I already put that into an iBook. So I got the iBook ready to just put the picture straight in. So that was quite handy to do.
We did a lot of documentaries as well, like
Yeah.
filming each other and ourselves and the landscapes and stuff, so that was useful. That was good.
Yeah, even just like doing it silently when you just moving it around so everyone can get the idea that it's a massive place, particularly Tankot.
Yeah.
I did that one there.
So what were the advantages of that over other kinds of camera, or were there any?
There's, go on, sorry. No, I was going to say that you could edit stuff straight away. So, whereas with other digital cameras, if you don't like it, you can get rid of it. Whereas this one, you can cut people out of it if they're in the way and that sort of stuff, and you can do it straight away.
So just give me some examples. You've mentioned some already, but the kind of things you were videoing.
We did a lot for the landscape, didn't we, to look at
Yeah.
topography of the landscape and stuff, like giving full 360 views as well. And
Yeah, just literally at Tankot, just standing in one position and going around so you could get not only the memorial but the actual graves as well.
like, 'cause it was so big there as well, you couldn't necessarily fit it all into a camera shot, so actually videoing what it was like was quite useful to fit it all in.
And it was handy to video Stuart because he talks a lot.
Yeah,
And it's
that
quite
was good.
difficult to remember it all straight away. So if
Yeah.
there was one particular thing that you thought, I want to remember that again, you could watch through the video.
Okay, so for your own subject knowledge, that's been useful because you can go back and
Yeah.
relook at it. So have you done that? Have you gone back and looked at your own videos and said,
Yeah.
okay, that's very useful. Now let's think about if you've got this video, how might you use that if you were going to prepare a resource for your own students? Would you use it in that way?
If I'd filmed everything that Stuart had said, if we couldn't take the kids on a trip, you could use it in that way, and Stuart could be a tour guide.
Okay.
So we could spend, each time we came to a particular bit. So if we were looking at the Battle of the Somme or the subsidiary battles, and we were looking at Delville Wood, you could then intertwine the video Stuart talking about it into a PowerPoint and say, "Oh, this is the next step in the guide process."
But if you could take kids away, would you use your video to prepare any resources?
I suppose if you had a big class, you could use Stuart's as well in that way to kind of prepare them for, say, Delville Wood. You could get him to talk about it, then they could go off in their groups and then do a task. I suppose you could use it that way.
Okay. Let me just come back a step then to how you found the iBook that had been presented. What do you see were the advantages or disadvantages of having that resource available for you?
It was right there, so even if you were, say, photographing or doing something else, you didn't have to rely on like going back to Stuart and asking him what the task was. You could literally just get on with it.
And it was all in one place that you didn't have. I mean, there were 11 different places you went to. That would be
Yeah.
11 different information sheets that you need to be carrying around and sifting through and getting to the right one. Whereas you've got it all in one place and you can, swipe to sort of each one.
Okay, smashing. Anything else on that? No
I'd
result.
say
No
the same
good.
as you really, just like not having loads of sheets of paper and stuff. I think that would be an advantage for kids, because I think with kids having loads of sheets of paper, they get flustered and it's a lot to carry around.
Did you do anything like take a screenshot of that or take a note of that and annotate any of those pages? Or
No, I didn't.
no? Is there anything you would have liked to have in the iBook that wasn't there?
No, I thought it was pretty. I thought it was
It looks quite good.
pretty good.
Yeah,
It's quite good.
pretty good.
Okay, let's go on then to what could have helped even further in terms of how you could have used the devices on site. Is there anything that the sites themselves could have provided, or other things that would have been useful for you whilst you're away using the devices that would have enhanced the experience even more?
No, because I thought it was good that they had is it QR scanners?
Yeah.
Some places had those where you could scan and get more information, but I found just having like the information boards and just taking photographs and stuff like that. I found it really useful. I haven't changed anything on the site.
And can you pull out the difference between that being useful for you as a pupil, as it were, or you as going to be a teacher? Would you pull out a difference in that?
No,
So let me rephrase the question, bad question. How much of the information you were you gathering in your head of, I'm going to use this to prepare resources?
That's most of what I took pictures
Yeah,
for.
Most of the
pretty
stuff.
much.
Yeah.
So you're wearing it, I'm going to be a teacher hat, I'll
Yeah.
need this as resource.
Yeah.
So let's go back a step then on that, and how much do you think you would set the pupils to take pictures and why? Or video, or any other data?
I think it would be a little bit more structured, so now that we've been, you know exactly what's there, and that doesn't change an awful lot year to year, so you could direct them towards a particular, so it could be like a little bit like a photograph treasure hunt or something like that, where they've got to go and find a particular picture, or that you've already selected, or they can go and find a particular picture that they think is quite poignant or something like that, and be prepared to, you know, sort of annotate around it and say why it's poignant and present it to other people or something like that.
Okay, okay. Anything else?
No, just as Alexa said, be more structured. Maybe just get them to take like 5 photos and say it's got to be this or this. Try and find that in here.
I think I'd do it as well with a purpose, like this is what you're going to do, this is going to be the end task, and you need to compile information and pictures to complete this task, and then let them do it themselves.
Did you mentioned a little bit about editing some photographs, but did you manipulate the data you took in any way whilst you were on the trip? So did you put it into a slideshow, or put it into an ebook, or use iMovie to edit your movie, or anything like that whilst you were away?
Me personally, I put the bloke that I went to see got an actual grave rather than just a name on a plaque. So the picture that I got, that was put into an iBook straight away. I know other people have edited video, but I didn't.
Right.
No, not yet. I was going to do it here.
I mean, it's non-judgmental. This is not saying you should or shouldn't have. I'm just saying what you felt you could and couldn't do. Would you expect pupils to be able to do that? Again, let's assume from it they had devices. Would that be something you'd encourage them to do whilst you were there? Would that be a good use of the device or not a good use of the device?
If they've been given, I think it'd be good to do on the bus.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
I don't think it'd be good to, because, you know, some places you've got, yeah, it might be 10 minutes up the road, but other places could be an hour in between, and you've got to find something to occupy them that isn't just sort of sitting there chatting, because you want the whole visit to have a purpose rather than just the individual places you go to. But I think you'd have to take time out of lessons before you went to make sure they understand how to do these things.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Would having had, now in fact there was Wi-Fi at least 2 places. Did you use the Wi-Fi at the places, or did you find the Wi-Fi at the places? I think there was some at Tyne-Cott, and there was some at the Somme place that I can't remember the name of. The Lucians. Go on. T-Bell, well done, excellent, better memory than me. Okay, you can find that. Can you see having Wi-Fi would be a useful thing, or would it not be something you'd want to use?
I think it was useful for the museum we went in, because then they could maybe find like a certain point and then research it further if they couldn't find anything more in the museum. But
Yes, you're right. There was also at Flanders Field. There was also Wi-Fi. Yeah.
I think, I think for the kids, apart from where we stayed, they wouldn't have Wi-Fi connection or data connection wherever they went, unless they were being charged a fortune for it. So it might be a distraction if they suddenly realised, oh, I can check Facebook or Twitter or whatever else.
There's always a distraction possibilities. Yeah. Yeah, it is always a distraction. So let's just anything else about using the devices whilst from the trip that you wanted to mention that I haven't asked about?
No.
Okay, let's imagine then that you just had, say, 2 or 3 devices take away. How might you use them with a group of, say, 20, 30 children?
I'd break it down. So for each place, say we split the kids into groups of 3 and we went to 10 different places, then it'd be staggered. So one group or 2 or 3 groups could have the iPads or whatever they might be at one place, but wouldn't have it in the second place and stagger it the way through. So they all get a fair share. But I mean, I think if you'd only got 3 between 30 kids, I don't think you can really justify having 1 amongst 10 to do some group sort of stuff with that. So I'd stagger it through.
Any other thoughts from if you had just one or just say 2 or 3 devices?
You could do it like at the Flanders Fields Museum, where we were allocated groups and things to research, and then each place kind of give kids in groups something to research, and then give them the iPads to go and collect that information or record themselves talking about it, and then at the end of it, like, put everything together in a big documentary for them to keep and look back on to use throughout school or something.
So how would you extend that if you say you had enough 1 between 3, 1 between 4? So small group usage.
Then they could make their own documentaries and
Yeah,
research their own
really
projects
change that
and
much.
leave it more in their hands.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think you could do that, but I think then you perhaps wouldn't want them to have it at every single place, because you'd just be doing the same thing over and over and over again. One person would have the iPad and three people would be filmed, and it'd get a little bit too samey.
Yeah. And if you had one-to-one, like you had?
I'd do something like Stuart did, but
Yeah.
more people friendly. Like, it's fine for us, because like Stuart said before, we're all highly motivated adults who know about these kind of things. But if it was, say like a Year 9 group, I'd tailor it more to them.
Then last question then. Kevin and I have got this vague model now where we're talking about sort of 3 stages. Stuff you'd prepare for you, we're assuming the one-to-one model. Stuff you'd prepare before you went. So what kind of things would you prepare to go on the devices? So that, give the device to the child and it's got some stuff on it, like Stuart did with the iBook. But any thoughts on what you'd put on the device before they went?
I'd probably just do the same as Stuart, with a bit of information and the task. I think that's all you really need to do. You don't want to overcomplicate it. And a lot of children, if they look at too much writing, they just kind of switch off. So I would probably just keep it the same.
Yeah. Anybody else? Anything else?
Limit the number of apps that are on there. So like there's quite a few on our iPads that we didn't need for those 3 days. And again, it's just a distraction. It's something different that they're not using. So I'd make sure that each app that was on there, I'd make sure that each app that was on there had got a particular purpose.
Okay.
And within the iBook, maybe suggest, right, you could use this app for this section of what we're doing at this particular site. So it's a bit more structured that way.
Okay. So the second stage of Kevin and my model is the whilst you're there. So what ways that are either different or similar would you use with children for the device whilst you're there? So we've got video and photograph. I'm sort of taking that as a given. Anything else you want them to get? What kind of data might you want them to gather?
I'd probably get them to type something in so you can actually see they're taking it in, not just taking a photo. But I'd probably do it like, say, you go to one place, you do a documentary, next place you just take photos, maybe do some writing the next one. So it's a little bit different each time. But yeah, I'd probably just add a bit more writing or something in there.
Anybody else anything different?
No, I'd go along with that. And then, like I said before, structure it so that instead of walking around trying to type these things while you're actually at the place, you're not really taking the information out. Structure it so that would be like a subsidiary activity that you do between places.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think the most useful kind of media you can use is taking photos and videos, and I think I benefited from that. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, I could look back on things, and I know I can reuse photographs. And
Okay, smashing. And the third stage, it will not surprise you, is that what would you do after you got back to the classroom? So you had some stuff prepared, you've been on the visit, you've got some data of some sort, you get back to the classroom the following week, whatever. What might you do now they've got that data?
I'd give them a project to do, like maybe make their own documentary, Neil Oliver style or something. Putting all their stuff together and showing that they've understood the tasks and that they can use their material.
So would that be a question that you would choose, or a question the students would choose, or both? Or?
I'd probably have to think about it, but it'd be good to let them decide the question, or focus on one particular area and do a little documentary on one area, or do it on a few, or similarities and differences between them, or I think I'd let them decide the question.
Okay, any other thoughts?
I'd probably split them into maybe 3s or 4s. Let them choose a particular question to answer, but with guidance from me, so I'd sort of highlight particular themes or areas or whatever it might be. And then they could present it however they wanted, but perhaps something using Prezi perhaps. Because then they could work on it in the classroom, but they could collaboratively do it outside of the classroom as well if they needed to.
Smashing. And then I guess the question that's always disappointing to ask, but I have to ask, is there anything that went wrong? Any problems with the technologies that were technical problems? Or
I had a few. Sometimes like my iBook wouldn't open, or my memory would get too full, and sometimes the camera would go really funny. It wasn't the best quality.
Yeah, mine was a bit blurry sometimes.
Yeah, it was a bit annoying because like if you're taking a picture of say a grave, you want it quite clear so you can see who's there and what they're saying, especially if they've got like a note from the mother or something.
and then you weren't getting that through.
Yeah, that was a bit bad.
Okay. Any other technical problems or such like?